Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. My name is Javon Adams. You can call me Jay or J Love. And that man next to me is the one and only Ed Easy Smith. He not only played professional baseball, but also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. He is an author. He is also a motivational speaker. What is good, my brother?
Just chilling, man. Happy Monday to you, getting it kicked off, and hopefully a good week ahead for us, man. A lot of camps opening up finally, and football's upon us, bro.
Indeed. So we are going to get into football just a moment, but I got to ask you because you're the man that loves the interesting niche sports, right? So you love the little league World Series.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
you love some college. You love the college World Series, college baseball World Series, but you more so the little league World Series. That's
Yeah.
one of the interesting things. Are you an Olympics guy?
I'm an Olympics event guy. I'm not like the whole thing. I could, I'll pick and choose what I'm gonna take a look at, and most of the time it just depends on some of the athletes in the particular events. Like basketball, I'll check it out just because, and we'll get into this, but because everybody's talking, oh, this team is the best team ever. This is better than the original Dream Team, and I'm watching what they're doing right now. And you know me, I got my favorites and stuff like that from yesteryear, and I'm watching, listening to everybody talk about how great this team is, and we're scuffling to beat South Sudan by one at the buzzer, that type of thing. So that I will watch a little track and field when I get a chance. I'm not big into swimming, maybe a little floor events with the gymnastics team. So I pick and choose, but I'm not like somebody who turns it on and doesn't turn it off. But I'll check out some of the things that kind of catch my eye.
So Nika and the boys, they're more into the Olympics, especially I want to say the last Summer Olympics. They were really into it. But let's get into it. You mentioned it. So there's two elephants in the room, so to speak. Let's start with the men, and then we'll go to the women. So the men, there's the Olympic team as they're doing these ramp up games. They've had a couple of some it seems like some challenges, to say the least. They blew out one team. What was that? Serbia is the
Serbia.
one that they put away easily. And most recently over the weekend, they almost lost to South Sudan. And just you mentioned a lot of people. Some people were saying that this is the best collection. Now you can, if you put names on a paper and you say you got LeBron, you got Durant, who hasn't played yet, supposed to play today in the last kind of ramp up game. You have Curry, you have all of these great players, but it depends upon where they're at in their playing career where
Yeah.
it matters most, right? So, for example, the Wizards' Michael Jordan, if he was on this team, is not the Michael Jordan of the Bulls when they played in '92.
1992.
The
Yeah.
same way that Bird wasn't the Bird that we all knew. He was a shell of his former self. I mean, his back was killing him, so forth and so on. But what's your level of concern when it comes to first the men's basketball squad?
I'm very concerned because the rest of the world has caught up to a certain degree with their levels of basketball. If you think about it, if you ran down a list of the top 5 players in the NBA right now, a 39-year-old LeBron, you're still going to consider him, but you're going to be going through Jokic and Luka Doncic, and maybe an Embiid. You'll run through a whole list before you get to our first American player, or mix them in there. Like, so the rest of the world, I'm not saying the rest of the world has a compilation of talent, but they're getting better. And for me, the elephant in the room, like you said, is this thing with, you just can't, it's on paper. You can't just throw the names out there and take into the account some of the ages and stuff like that and think they're just going to run through this thing. The thing that scares me for this men's team, we'll talk about the women's team in a minute, is that the rest of the world is getting better as well. So they're not going to be a whole bunch of cupcakes in this run. And if you're struggling, and I know it was just a friendly and stuff like that, but if you're struggling against South Sudan, you got teams like Canada and France and others that are waiting out there, and it might be a little harder path. And you always have to take into account when you put these all-star teams together. It's not like they played together for a year, a couple years, 2 years. They've only been playing together for the summer. So you have those questions that have to be asked. And I know we saw it the other day. Who's going to take the last shot when it comes down to it? If somebody's hot, are they going to go to that guy for the whole game? There's a lot of questions that have to be answered. And so far during these friendlies, I haven't seen them answered. It just seems like just because we have the names, they're just going to go out there and run through this. This isn't. And 92, they were winning games by 35, 40 points.
Yeah.
And the spreads were just that. And like I said, it was a different time in the international game. So I expect a lot of pushback from some of these other teams. And, they are going to get everybody's best shot. And in the Olympics, you get to the knockout rounds, all you need is one team to be on their best day. We saw what South Sudan did on Saturday with hitting some of those shots, and they were all like on fire, with the threes and stuff like that. So we'll see. I am a little concerned about that team though, that they think that with the USA, we're just going to go out there and throw it out there, and we'll be back with the gold in a little bit.
Of course, I'm waving the flag for the United States whenever there's any type of kind of international competition. You want you want your home squad to fare well. But here's something that I'm just throwing it out there. Is it really a competition if everybody in the building knows as soon as we step in that we winning? I mean, is it like, for example, there was no doubt in 92 that the squad, the United States squad, was going to mop the floor with anybody. And so, yeah, there was some novelty because it was a collection of NBA stars and legends. But isn't it better that it's competitive? I'm not trying to say losing to a nation that is not considered, not ranked very highly, but isn't it better for it to be a little contentious? Like I remember when Kobe played, I think it was his last All-Star, and they were going up, I think it was against Spain or whatever it was, and that was a highly contested game, kind of going back and forth for that gold medal game. Isn't that kind of what you want? You want to earn it, not just roll the ball out and say, all right, everybody, we're here, and so therefore y'all can go home.
Well, I think it's a two-way street. I think you want to also express your dominance too. If you are, we're the United States. This is supposed to be our gold medal, just waiting for us to pick it up. And I think it's all in how you win. Like if other teams, like I said, other teams are going to give us their best. For the United States, this is no. If you don't come home with the gold, this is embarrassing. So it's also a how did you play kind of thing. Whereas, some of these other countries, it's going to make their day just to keep a game within 15 or 20. Whereas the United States, you got to win by 15 or 20, depending on who you're playing. So, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be one of those things where they just roll through it. I think there is going to be some competition, and it might get to be some scary competition. Maybe some clutching of the pearls later on in some of these games So for me, I would like to actually see that. I would like to see some of these other nations step up and make it interesting. At the same time, if we're rooting for our country, we'd like to see them go over there and dominate. But like I said, the world has caught up a little bit in basketball, especially on the men's side.
Easy Sports Talk. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. So speaking of on the men's side, on the women's side, it was interesting. This isn't the first time that the WNBA has done this because they play during the summer. So when you have the Summer Olympics, it's a little bit of a different type of approach. So they are, for example, they're taking a month off from their season because of the Olympics. They're sending a team of professionals over there to play. So what they did for the All-Star game this past weekend, they had the WNBA All-Stars versus the Team USA. Man, it makes me, maybe this can be applied or some comparison with the men as well. I remember, and these women could mop the floor with me. There's no doubt about that. I remember there was a tipping point. I don't know when it tipped, but there was a time when I was playing pickup basketball when I used to do the jab step, and I knew I could try to get around somebody. I might have been the fastest, but I know I could get around you. You might cut me off. You might block me, whatever it is. But there was a time where I tried to do that. And my mind said, yeah, you going there. And my body said, nah. I was going in super slow-mo. And that's when I started to realize it might be time to give this pickup basketball thing up. The Team USA seemed like they got mopped a little bit. your thoughts on Team USA women going over there, because you would think that if you're going up against your own, like United States should have the best players, right? So when you think about in terms of compared to the world, so if you lose to your own, then nobody else should be able to measure up to you. If I'm going out for this international competition in the Olympics, that should be the toughest test that we have. But what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, our women's team is a little older. You know, we've got some
Mm-hmm.
Diana Taurasi's and others on there that have been like fourth and fifth Olympics. So, you know, some of this is a farewell thank you for some of our Olympians on the women's side.
Are you with that though? That the farewell tour of sorts, because that's what could end up biting you in the behind. It doesn't matter if it's men or women, whatever the sport is. If you're trying to, we'll give it to you because you earned it. You might have earned. I mean, I think that can be a trick bag or a tricky situation, like Bomani Jones would say.
It could be, but with our women's team and with our women's athletes, I honestly do think the rest of the world is coming, but at a much slower pace on the women's side. Our women dominate, and I don't think they get enough credit for that sometimes. And then you look at our like if we took that second tier, like the NBA WNBA All-Star team, they could probably go over and win the Olympics. That's how talented our pool is here, and there's a reason why all of our female players, they're in more demand to go overseas. Maybe not as much, you know, after what happened to Brittany Griner, but that there's a reason why they go and make millions of dollars during their off season and then come back here and make their WNBA salaries, because they're in that much demand, because they are that talented. We're that talented here. And I think the gap is still a lot larger for our women's team with as far as the rest of the world. And what it shows is, yeah, we still got talent coming. We got, you know, some of these young ladies that obviously they put on the show to beat the Olympic team. We got second tier reserves that are going to carry this flag on for the next, you know, generation. It looks like. So it wasn't, you know, except the fact that they lost to our WNBA All-Star team doesn't frighten me as much. But it does illustrate that, yeah, some of the Olympians that are on that team are at the end of their race rather than the beginning of it. And we obviously see that a little bit with our men's team as well, with LeBron and Steph and some of the guys. But actually, we still got a lot of young talent back coming behind them. Whereas, like I said, the women's team seems like it's a little older. They still will go over there, in my opinion, and dominate. I have less. I was concerned, but less concerned, because we lost to our own, meaning our very own team here. So, like I said, and then you also have to take into account some of those ladies are trying to prove they should have been on that team, and might have been going at it a little harder than expected. And like I said, it was a nice victory for the WNBA All-Star team. But like I said, though, I think the women will go over there and show us what, you know, how they fare against the rest of the world.
Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams, and I want to get into your training camp story later this week once all the camps are open and regale me with those tales. But I was going to church yesterday, and I wasn't ready, like Kevin Hart. I wasn't ready because one of the gentlemen asked me, so who you got for the Super Bowl? So camps are going to be opening up this week. Camps will be opening up. All I wanted, I'm just throwing this out there off the cuff. Are there a couple of camps, let's say, that you'll be watching? We're here in the Phoenix metropolitan area, so we're going to be watching the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that there is reason to be optimistic with them. We'll see if it all comes together, but I won't say there's hype is probably too strong a word, but there's optimism, I think, from even the national media looking at the last couple of drafts and seeing what that might bear fruit. So are there a couple of camps that you might keep an eye on, maybe for either ones that will take the next step to be playoff contenders or to be Super Bowl contenders, or maybe even like your nephew is on the Kansas City Chiefs to maintain that high level of standard to get back and maybe win the Super Bowl? There are a couple of camps. One for me, Baltimore Ravens, because when you get so close and there's so many expectations with the Lamar Jackson, what does that mean for him? How can he get better and continue to tweak because you got to get all the way back to where you were and then take the next step just to have a quote unquote successful season. That's one. San Francisco 49ers, they can't pay everybody. They're super talented, but they can't pay everybody. And
Mhm.
there's people saying, I want to get mine. You can saying if I want to get my money, now they might resolve it. There's been, of course, there's all that. There's the cautious optimism that they'll resolve it like they did with Debo. But and then I'm selfishly looking at the Raiders a little bit because that's just that quarterback is it's not going to look good. But what say you? What say you?
Rather than repeat the two that you said at the top, Baltimore and San Francisco, I'm really anxious to see, and also Kansas City, obviously, because my nephew's up there this year. See if they can continue their dominance. See if Baltimore can take the next step. Very disappointing for them last year to have the actual AFC championship game in their building and somebody come in and take it away from you. And then also San Fran, see who they can pay, who they can't pay. I'll go off the board a little bit. I want to see if Houston can take the next step.
Okay.
They got a great division to try to take advantage of. Some other teams that they're trying to figure it out. Jaguars, their quarterback, he's got the bag, but is he ready? Indianapolis, they've got a young quarterback who's coming back off injury. We'll see what he can do. And from there, I want to see whether the Houston, because CJ Stroud looked good, man. So for them to go on the road or win a game at home, then go on the road and put up a good fight, he might be, the next coming, of that next great, like the level quarterbacks that we're looking to see. So I'd love to see. And then they picked up some weapons, bro. They got Diggs in there. They got running back from Cincinnati.
His name escaped.
Yeah,
I know you're
Mixon,
talking about.
Mixon, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, they went out and stockpiled some more, so he's got even more weapons. So if they can keep him upright, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Then the other side, same thing. Green Bay. I'm interested to see is Jordan Love. I mean, is he the truth? They ushered your boy out, and here we were thinking, wow, man, they just made a mistake. And he showed last year. They beat Dallas, not beat Dallas. They whooped them like they caught them stealing something out of their pocket, and it was very. I mean, they got some tough competition within that division. That everybody's kind of almost giving it to Detroit, but that might be a battle that we might be talking about for years to come. Green Bay and Detroit with, Minnesota and Chicago. Chicago will watch what they do as well. But that's going to be really interesting for me. Green Bay, Houston, kind of both in the same boat with these young quarterbacks. Are they ready, or did we crown them a little too early? All of a sudden they have a good season because they start to get some tape on it. They start to figure out a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see if those guys can take the next steps. And it all starts, like I said, with training camp will open. And then you always talk about it, expectations. When the expectations build, so does, all the pressure and stuff like that. It's one thing when you're young and nobody knows about you, and then boom, you do it. Now we want to see act 2 and 3 and 4. So, that'll be interesting for me.
Yeah, that is going to be the thing that comes to mind. And this is unfair to the quarterbacks that you named, the ones that had a great year last year. When you talk about Love and you talk about Stroud, Carson Wentz. That's the name that comes to mind. And when you think about it, because when he came out in his rookie year and people were really confident, what do they call it? Pennsylvania and all that. And then fast forward a couple of years and he had fallen out of favor and there was different things that happened. And so you're careful about, the media, and we're the media, whatever. We can anoint people quickly, but it's a matter of what you do if you're the player in the locker room and how you prepare every day and get ready to compete. That's what really matters, and that's what will come out. That's come out in the wash, as I said.
Yeah, how the mighty fall, man. Like you said, everybody was crowning Wentz, and then what's interesting is how he got hurt during the Super Bowl run. They ended up winning the chip. And he didn't have anything to do with it. And then his career's never been the same since. He fell off, man. So, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so we do this thing 3 times a week. This week it may just be twice. I'll be on the road on Tuesday and Wednesday, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tell a friend about what we got going on. You can go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com. Wherever you find your podcast, just put in Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at The Easy Sports Talk Show, The Easy Sports Talk Show. And as we always like to say around this time, you can